Just mentioning Tom. I also, appreciating that time of year people might be away, but also in case there's any confusion, we did have an announcement going out. The family's having a memorial service in any case this Friday. So that's gone out in the emails. So that if you're able to, if the family opened that up to anyone from the centre who'd like to attend that as well. Again, the funeral here on the 2nd. And so in the meantime, I think we'll recite some Om Mani Padme Hums for Tom, holding him in our heart and thinking what a wonderful inspiration he's been over so many years, quite the sort of quiet achiever volunteer, dedicated to the centre and dedicated to the library, to volunteering, keeping place open on Wednesdays and sometimes filling in for others as well. Yeah, very, very long time. Remember. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. The day is also Medicine Buddha Day, so we have Medicine Buddha Puja at 4, and we'll be dedicating a course also for Tom's most auspicious rebirth. Okay, doc. So last week we were looking at dependent arising, and that this unique teaching of the Buddha, mentioning that Alam Tsongkhapa indeed composed the praise to the Buddha, praise of dependent arising that the Buddha uniquely taught. So we looked at the 3 levels of that, that everything's dependent on causes and conditions. We, in the world, I think, at one level, or at maybe even at quite a few levels, we get that. But then we unpack that down to the most subtle level of causes and conditions, especially when the mind says, that's not fair. Why did this happen to me? What is it? Why do bad things happen to good people? Causes and conditions. We have to investigate. Everything's made up of causes and conditions. Everything is the result of causes and conditions. And parts, all the parts. So we take, form, feeling, discrimination, composition of factors, consciousness, the 5 aggregates, form being the body and the rest being the mind, and then all the component parts, and then we break those down to more component parts, break those down, to investigate if there is such a thing as a partless particle. The Buddha said no, but it's our investigation, and so we realize at even the most subtle level that everything is made up of more and more subtle levels of parts. And the most subtle level of understanding dependent origination, which is, we would say, most subtle, meaning usually when they say hidden, it means it's the most subtle, it's most difficult to get, is a merely labelled by the mind, mere designation, mere imputation, that things exist as a mere imputation. And this one we find very difficult to get. We hear the words, but this is where the really transformation happens. So, of course, everything being interdependent, for example, a person is dependent on their body, their mind, but also dependent on their family, the body's dependent on the parents, DNA and ovum, sperm, etc. All our past experiences, all our past karmic imprints in the mind that then, when met with the conditions, appropriate conditions, ripen. Could be this lifetime, could be future lifetimes. We can also think of the different parts of our being in terms of our cultural identity, our social identity, our gender identity, linguistic identity, West Australian identity, or not West Australian, Australian identity. So we can go on and on. Many, many factors contribute to each one of us and who we are right now. And of course, then if we realize impermanence, we realize that that is changing momentarily. That's it. Anyway, we've covered all that ground. And so then how do we deepen our understanding of this, of the dependent arising, interdependence of things? So in the 3 principles of the path, Lama Tsongkhapa said, the reason we need to meditate on this, on the correct view of reality, the right view of reality, in other words, ultimate truth being the wisdom realizing emptiness, conventional truth being dependent arising. So, as Lama Tsongkhapa said, without realizing the wisdom, without the wisdom realizing ultimate reality, the true nature of things, even though you've generated a mind of renunciation, a mind of seeking liberation from samsara, from suffering. So this, middle scope being, that's your goal. Is all of us want to be free of suffering. All of us want to have peace of mind. All of us don't want to have this disturbing states of mind. We don't want to experience illness, etc., etc., etc. Bad stuff that happens. The bad stuff that happens to good people. Well, bad stuff that happens because we're all in samsara. So even though you generated this, you might have generated this definite emergence, which is an uncontrived, spontaneous wish 24/7 to be free of samsara, free of our suffering existences one after the other. Not at all caught up for even a nanosecond, day and night, in any of the worldly concerns. So it's a high bar already. You've realized that. And the mind of renunciation, bodhicitta, infinite altruism, oozing out all your pores 24/7, which is the entrance to the Mahayana path of accumulated renunciations, the entrance to the, we'd say, common path, which is the, these days, say, Theravada path in some ways. The ways, the paths and grounds are presented differently. But in any way, either uncontrived renunciation or uncontrived bodhicitta. So say you've realized these two, and these are the getting to the 3 principles of the path. If we don't realize the right view, correct view, the wisdom of emptiness, then there's no way we can cut the root of samsara, even we've had all those other realizations. Therefore, Lama Tsongkhapa says, attempt the method to realize dependent arising. So what is the method? Meditate, 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 meditate. Did I say meditate? And then, how do we know when we're making progress? Lama Tsongkhapa continues. If the appearance of dependent relation, dependent arising, which is unbetraying, it's accepted separately, so conventional truth, separately from the wisdom realizing emptiness. If we see them as 2 separate things, as long as they're seen as separate, you still haven't realized the Buddha's intent. So what's the Buddha? What's Lama Tsongkhapa? What's the Buddha saying? That these 2 arise in the same moment. That the moment that we perceive an object, the emptiness of that object arises. Conventional truth, the object is there. Ultimate truth, its emptiness is also there. What is its emptiness? It's empty of what? A little bit louder than that. Inherent existence. What's an inherent existence? Yes, it's empty of being independent. It's empty of existing from its own side, by way of its own characteristic, independent of anything else, including me, who's perceiving it. Primarily that. So there's no such thing that exists truly independently, right, of the mind perceiving it, labeling it. Agree? I don't know. Isn't that lucky? No, just a joke. So it's empty of existing out there, independent of anything, including, and most importantly, the mind perceiving it. It's empty of existing independently of that. In other words, how would we say that, like, another way around? Everything is a dependent arising. Everything is interdependent. But Buddha said, don't take what I said just because I said it. You check up. So you investigate and say, well, I think there's something that exists out. I think it's true. It's got nothing to do with me. It's the other side of the world. So we have to investigate more and more and more. So the way we're going to do it right now is bring it a little bit closer to home, our body. I mean, we're all interested in our body. Or ourselves. We're very interested in us. So one way we look at this is that we search. We use analytical meditation. This is the way that we use the conceptual mind to analyze. And we've looked at different analyses, and this analysis is the one that is said to be the king of reasoning, is that of dependent arising. So those 3 points. So one way of looking at what we're dependent on is this analysis of the 6 elements that comprise our body. So if you were to go to a Tibetan medical doctor, this is their area of expertise, looking at the elements. And the elements within the body cannot be separate from the elements outside of the body, can they? I mean, we depend on the air to breathe. We internalize that, and that becomes breath. But it's not, that breath is not separate from the air out there, as we know when we pass on germs to other people. Sorry about that. It's got cold eye. Yeah.
Now being called air.
It's a different label. But now it's my breath. Not only is it breath, it's my breath. How long is it mine for? What was that?
Till you exhale.
Till you exhale. Exactly. And there's a percentage of it, I think, that stays inside. Can't remember. I did read it. I have to look it up scientifically again. So in this analysis, we divide up the body into 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, or wind, and space. And then the mind, when we're looking at the mind, we have, as it says in the Heart Sutra, that's the forms: feelings, discrimination, compositional factors, consciousness. They're all grouped together under the element of consciousness. They're all part of the package of consciousness. And in this meditation, it's looking at that dependent arising, that interdependence of what is inside of us with what is outside of us. Indeed, those elements, and to investigate, our sense of ourself and what we can claim to be truly me and mine. So, for example, I always find it fascinating to contemplate how there's not a defined boundary between my outer layer, skin, or even the hairs on the skin, and outside of that. Like we're shedding bits and pieces all around the place all the time. And you've got to get the vac out and clean up our stuff. So, just contemplating that I am not as fixed as I think I am in space. That it's a constant interaction. Okay. So I suggest we do this as a reflective meditation so that, and then, okay, I'll lead you through it, this analysis of the 6 elements and see if anything stays the same or transforms in the way we perceive ourselves. It's one of the classic analyses used. Yeah, so feel free to change where and how you're sitting. You could also be lying down. I think that works with the elements because we have another meditation, the death process. No, we're not doing the death process. Okay. But that also, familiarizing with the different elements in the body is very helpful for that. But anyway, let's stick with what we have here. So bringing your body to a state of balance and ease, feeling well supported in the ground below, anchoring you to the earth, coming up as a solid, firm, reliable, stable foundation, giving you that sense of stability, security, support, coming up through the carpet, the mat, pushing chair to support you in meditation. Then letting your body settle into its familiar meditation mode, which everyone seems to have on, so don't need to go through all their elements. Bringing your awareness into the space of the body, checking in how the body is doing. Setting your mind into the space of the body. And just get an awareness of your sense of your body sitting here. In general, like different parts of the different things, of course, but that's how it's doing your experience of your body right now. So thinking that I'm engaging in this investigation to enhance my understanding of the interdependent nature of myself and the environment. At least that fluidity, non-fixed, permanent need is my grasp. Sense of flow. Okay, so we're going to start investigating the earth element. So already we've grounded ourselves to to the earth below, giving a sense of that firm, stable support. The earth element is everything that's solid in the body. Everything hard, everything firm. And so investigating with our imagination, solid, firm, hard bits of our body, a skeleton, and aware of, for example, the pelvis being well grounded. Maybe for your feet as well, if you're sitting in a chair. I'm thinking that, oh gosh, I think there's more bones in the feet than anywhere else. So it's a lot of earth element. But throughout the whole body, in terms of our skeleton, in terms of our skull, scapula, shoulder blade. Major bones of our body down to this very nice tiny bones, giving us a sense of structure. But also as part of the earth element is also the muscles, large muscle groups and smaller muscle groups that maybe give us a sense of strength, certainly enable movement. And what about the organs in the body? Connective tissue, teeth, nail, hair, kidney, soul, protecting. Firm. And we can expand our awareness out to the earth element surrounding us, starting with the seat beneath us. Chair, the cushion, the mat, the carpet, the floor, the veranda. The walls of the compound. Yes. The building. The land beneath the building. Earth beneath the building. The ground, the building. Maybe all the concrete bits, the bricks and mortar things. Plan. Trees, another plan. I think everything supported coming from the people around us here, people outside, car, road. And just investigate. The outer earth element. And what's the point of that investigation? That outer earth, that earth element, how does that relate to my inner experience of the earth element? You think how we start like single cell embryo. What enables us to grow? Taking food, of course, while we're in the womb, through the placenta, the mother, then a form of milk, coming from the cows or coming from the youngs or the soybeans or the whatever, growing the plants. we grow older. As we grow up, we eat, we drink, we need certain foods to develop in like the bones, the muscles, all the solid bits of our body. We digest the food, assimilate it into our body, becomes part of us. That food from outside becomes our body. So if you think about it, if you're a meat, cup of meat, then Lamas of Rinpoche says, in that being, you have a strong karmic connection with it. They're not part of you. And so you're responsible for their enlightenment. It's a nice way to. In any case, gets integrated into our body. And that determines the shape, even the size of our skeleton. I remember a friend studying anthropology, this was decades ago, and said that when Japan started changing the diet, instead of all fish bass going to red meat, their jaws got bigger. Makes sense, doesn't it? They've got a chomp on that red meat muscle. So in one way we can say we are who or what we eat. That outer earth element becomes the inner. But it goes even further, doesn't it? How does the inner earth return to the outer? We shed the dead cells, skin, cut our hair, we clip our nails, we do caca. And eventually we die. When our whole body returns one way or the other to the earth. Being buried. You know, or everything that grows in the earth. Then it becomes. And some of us put that out again as compost. Not really chewed about. Compost. And it recycles. Just in the same way we recycle. We get a sense of that interdependence of the earth element internally, externally. It's not like I am separate from the earth element around. Literally, I'm not separate from that. And what about the water element? So this is everything of fluidity within our body. Our blood, saliva, tears, sweat. Blood, sweat and tears, they've got different meanings. All the water element. Lymph, the oil in our joints. On a more subtle level that we're probably not aware of, but still it's there. Cerebral spinal fluid. The water in our cells, a very, very more and more subtle level. At some point where it said body's 80% water, and then as you get older, it sort of goes down a bit. But a significant amount, and we know, yeah. And so we know that we depend on water to survive even more than food. We can go longer without food than we can without water. But the outer water element that we get from the tap, filter, from rain, from clouds, from lakes, rivers, oceans, water element that, when it rains and cools us down, we go for a swim, so we take the water in and then of course we expel it through pee, maybe crying, through spitting, through sweat, through coughing, through blowing our nose. So which part of this cycle, which part of these truly me? Which of these is truly mine? Is there any of that which I can claim to be me? Mine, separate. And then we turn to the fire element. Because no, before we turn to the fire, at the time of death, all the water element dries up. We see what you see. Someone dying from natural causes and the body shrinking, or even they haven't died from causes. The body's left long, it's still sort of continuous shrink. Blood cycle, interdependence between the water element internally, externally, it's constant flow, constant exchange. Then the fire element, all that within our body warmth that rises up when we do more exercise, rises with metabolism within ourselves, or when we digest food, so forth. But then the weather warms up and we feel hot, hotter. The outer element, the sun, the ultimate source of energy for life. And it's interesting that the warmth comes from the sun warming up the environment around us, and that reflecting back, and we feel hot. Or the heat in winter from a heater or from a stove or from our clothes. Warm cup of coffee, cup of tea. And when we cool down, and that warmth again, that's related to the external element of fire and warmth. We see that condition change throughout the year, different times of day. And even within our body, there can be places that feel more warm. For example, where the clothes are touching our skin, or where one part of the body is touching another part of the body. It's not all same. We're radiating heat upwards. And again, when someone dies, and all the warmth of the body contracts from the extremities into the heart chakra. You can actually feel when that radiation of warmth has gone. from the body, if we have that option. But if we don't, we can say, this is going to happen to me. Just investigate the fire element and see if any of this fully independent and it's on the side. Think of all the causes and conditions internally, externally, the fire, the warmth, the heat. Even when it gets dangerous, you know, with bushfires and so forth. But coming back to our body and sort of warmth within our food. You might have noticed just in this short period of time how that has changed here and there. It's changing. Flow of energy, even at the most subtle energy, sort of kinetic energy, firing neurons, of course we're not aware of, but it says firing. Very subtle. And then, of course, we're very familiar with the air, the wind, breathing in the breath of life. The outer air element becomes inner, becomes breath. And that breath permeates through every single part of our being. Cell, the atom, the spaces in between, all the organs. Talk about the oxygen being a wake-up call. Freshness. And then as we breathe out, the warm air from our body, breath warmed by our body as we breathe it out. And the cooler air, particularly when the air comes, so we can feel the breath, we can feel the air on the skin. Which of any of these moments is truly me? Which moment of breath? Is it breath or is it air? When is it breath? When is it? Which is truly mine? When does it become my breath? When does my breath become air? Then we have the space element. So the inner space element, in the mouth cavity, spaces between all our organs, between our organs and the bones, the rib. Think of that space within and around, even at the most cellular level, the space that enables that movement. And then we have a sense of personal space, isn't it? Just a space around us, but at some point we claim some of that space as mine. And it's fascinating to investigate when we feel someone's invading my personal space as if, you know, of ownership of it. We place similar boundaries around it. Property, countries, states, etc. All space. So the outer space, we could say, is the space that I don't label as my public space. When you look up in the sky to outer space, beyond outer. You're surrounded by space, the space in this room, the space here. Get a sense of that interrelationship. Space about. And then turning towards the space of the mind, consciousness element. These rivers of consciousness flowing through the different moments of our composed of many, many multiple moments. Seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, thinking. Consciousness element containing all our memories, our fantasies, all our inner commentary, the whole range of mental activity, all the feelings, emotions, experiences. Aren't all of those mental experiences also dependent on something outside of us? Or is the independent my thought, my memory, my image, my imagination? Which of these moments is true? Truly. Truly myself. This is not to negate our existence. Of course we exist. And of course we do have property, we do have ownership stuff. Here we're looking at what does dependent, connected, contingent self really feel like? What does that really mean? What is my experience of that? And whatever taste of experience of that, dwelling in that experience for as long as you can, that sense of interrelationship, interdependent to connection. And gathering together any insights, perspectives, experiences that have been beneficial coming out of this reflection, meditation, holding those to continue to grow and grow, to continue to investigate, gain more clarity, gain more insight, to benefit ourselves, to get closer to the wisdom realizing emptiness, to benefit. Okay, feel free to stretch and jiggle, whatever, anything's gone numb in the meantime. Oh, yes, wake it up. Okay, so how do we go with that? Is there some different perspectives have arisen or different ways of thinking about it, different experiences? useful, not useful, debatable?
Found very strange the experience of noticing the element of space within it.
Yeah.
And how that just completely started to feel that was
Right.
strange.
Yeah.
In my just observation.
Yeah.
So it was quite unique. Quite interesting.
That's very useful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Having the blurring of inner space, outer space, which is like, well, where's my space?
Yes.
Actually, on the personal space, the one thing I found interesting, some of you know I trained in physical theatre way back. And one of the things we had to do was we had an imaginary dog in front of us, and we were engaging with this imaginary dog. So the French people, quite a lot of Europeans actually, had their dogs really close. The Australians had their dogs out in the field, I think. It was interesting, that sense of within your personal space. And so this sense of, well, what is my sense of personal space? If I have to get onto a crowded metro and fuck the tummy in, which I did a lot of, then you've got your personal space. I mean, I have to say, perhaps I should say Parisians, so city-based people. But we could say that equally within Australia, city-based or country-based or whatever, a sense of personal space. And that's a cultural thing too. So having a sensitivity and awareness that our sense of personal space may not be someone else's personal sense of space. We say you're invading my personal space. Well, you haven't touched my body. I'm okay. But nonetheless, we have this is my personal space. This is an appropriate social space. Thank you very much. And this is a public space. It's also interesting investigation. Anything else that people observed? Yes? It's down there somewhere. Were you going to say something?
Yes. Oh, sorry.
You've got it?
Yeah. So you were talking about heat and the heat in
Yeah.
the body.
Yeah.
And I was looking at that and I think, well, where's that heat really coming from on a biological level? And I thought, oh, it's actually transformed energy.
Energy,
and
yeah.
The release of the chemical reaction.
Mm.
It's a byproduct of that chemical reaction that the
Yes.
release.
Yes.
And that got me thinking, but the brain is an enclosed capsule.
Yeah.
I don't know.
More investigation to be had. It's interesting, isn't it? Investigation is interesting.
Well, none of it belongs to us, does it? None of it belongs to us.
No,
So,
that's the whole point of the exercise. She got it.
but then, what is?
What is?
Yeah.
What is what?
Well,
What is mine or what is me?
feel
Exactly.
which is this.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we're not part of it. They're fundamental. It's going on without anything to do. Even our digestion, our breathing.
Yeah. So the one to be interrogated is the one you call us. This is the one, you're right. This is the one that it's got nothing to do with me. This me, that is the one fantasy me. It does have to do with the conventional existent you, but not this fantasy one. So that's it's a very useful way of thinking. Very useful way. Very good.
My comment was going to be also about fire.
Yeah.
Fire element.
Mm.
Maybe not to the same level of down to the neuron.
Yeah, you're not. Yeah, investigating the brain yet.
I was trying to work out, like, so you can usually observe the fire element when it's, it's hot, when it's really
Yeah.
hot.
Yeah.
And then when it's slowly, it's not like less hot, it's neutral.
Yeah.
It's just the lines are just so blurry.
They're
And
blurry.
then is the absence of heat.
Yeah, that's when you
Is
have to
that
put on a jacket or put on a blanket or whatever. Yeah.
Is that same element, fire element?
Yeah.
Just trying to kind of work out.
Yes, because I guess we have the opposites, only the warmth and the coolth in the body. And as you said, absence of it at that point. Yeah.
And also how I can respond very differently to when it's hot, when the weather is hot.
Yes.
Sometimes it bothers me, and other times it doesn't.
Yeah. So we get hot and bothered. And bothered. Bothered is optional extra.
Yes, exactly.
Hot is one thing. Bothered we can delete. Good. Okay, good. Keep going with your investigation. Let us know what you discover about the firing of synapses and neurotransmitters.
You do have a very narrow range of things that you follow.
Yeah. Yes. Well, this is very fascinating because I think as we all are subject to greater and greater global warming, I get fascinated with this because I look at places like Marble Bar and in Central Australia where it's very frequently 50 degrees, and it's like, how much can the human body actually tolerate? And this is a question I think for survival's sake, is very important. How much can we actually tolerate? And it might be over what period of time as well.
We've got any toxicity, I think we could fire around about 100 feet.
What was that?
We're 97.
Oh, yeah.
150
Yeah.
feet. I think that's when very, very, very.
She's doing
The body, yeah, good temperature.
Fahrenheit. Oh, sorry.
Or whatever, but yeah, we talk about it in the term.
I think yesterday we were talking about degrees.
Some people think 7.
We tolerate 47 degrees
Forty.
I'm talking about internal.
40 is higher than 100. We're in real danger. Only those that can afford it. Yeah. I mean, it was very critical during. Okay. This is a very hot topic.
10 degrees cooler.
Yeah. All right. So it's really, seeing what it means to be dependent, and clearly seems to be fire's the one for us today. I mean, Nagarjuna said, a person is not earth, not water, not fire, not wind, not space, hence this meditation, not consciousness, and not all of them together. And then it's what other person is there but. So how do we get that? That becomes our contemplation.
And he starts saying the person is not.
Not earth, not water, not fire, not air or wind, he says, not space, not consciousness, not the totality of those, collection of those. What else other is the person than that?
When we say the person, do we mean the not really existing I?
Well, you tell me. So we could say, yes, keep going on that line. So we could say person is the label we impute on those. Not, yeah. So in a similar, we look at, without looking at the elements, we take apart bits of the body. Well, maybe it's the brain, maybe it's the heart chakra, or the heart, or maybe it's, bits and pieces of the body. No, not there. Maybe it's in the mind. No, not there. Maybe it's out there. This was the 4-point analysis that we looked at a few weeks ago. And then, well, it can't be anything else other than that. So it's a mere imputation on all of that. So it's not negating existence. This is what we have to be careful of. It's not negating existence, but we don't exist in the way that we do. Again, when I was at that theatre school, when we were doing study of animals, and it was a mind school, so you had to sort of be that animal. Now remember this woman doing a cow, and she was very solidly cow. What are earth elements? So looking at it in terms of different elements, whether we identify more with one element, it's someone who's very flighty, according to your star sign, whatever. So interesting. You know, we talk about water babies or not. They're just fascinating ways to investigate. Okay. Everyone good with that? Okay. So I mentioned, so this is, the label is living in an empty world. So having reflected, as a lot of us here have, at least over the past 4 weeks, on the teachings on emptiness, selflessness, getting a sense, what sense of emptiness or empty, yet dependent nature of ourselves and our world. Got a sort of sense of how these coexist. But it's still really deep-seated, entrenched, this grasping at this self, this us that has nothing to do with it, this me that has nothing to do with it. And yet we will continue to grasp as long as we're in samsara. It's inevitable. Whilst ever we're in samsara. And once we realize that wisdom directly perceptually, that's the freedom. That's the freedom of non-grasping. Of course, there's a few different things to that. We won't go into all of that.
It's also interesting to think about, when does the self arrive?
When does
Our
it
perception, our imputation
comes with us? Because you've got to think that how we come into existence is propelled by that mind of the ignorant and grasping at existence, at being. So already,
that false understanding.
yeah, that false understanding of reality, that sense of, because, you know, I don't exist. That's scary. And that's why, unfortunately, people have a lot of fear of death. Because it's like literally I'm going out of existence, particularly if you think that this is all there is, this life is all there is, and your whole identity is vested into your existence in life. Even when people retire, you know, there can be that lack of, well, my whole identity was my work, and now I'm not doing that, and so there's that absence of that. I'm, you know, who am I? What am I? It's quite traumatic for people. You know, we prepare people for them. Absence in us. We need, because more and more people are getting older and older.
So in one sense, we never arrive and we never depart.
Explain that.
Well, this sense of how we exist.
Yeah, has sense of how we exist.
It's totally constructed. But in some ways, that's never our perception of things. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, the perception of vision. Yeah.
I think what I'm trying to say, the unrealness of it is that it was never there to begin with,
Except in our mistaken view. Yeah, yeah.
And we live with that and take it with us, but in some ways, none of that never arrived started.
That bit, yes, that, yes. But conventionally, we did arrive.
Yeah.
Our parents, you know, went through all that, happily or not happily. Expensively, did you say?
I think teenagers.
Oh,
Expensive.
very expensively. Yeah. And they're saying, don't tell me that. It's very expensive. But yeah, this is the investigation. The investigation, identifying which is the one that we're refuting is not the conventional existent us, which is always coming into and going out of existence, but the one that we hold as not coming into and going out of existence is going on forever. That never existed anyway. And that's what you're saying. That never existed anyway. That's the one. That's the object to be negated. That's the thing we need to be liberated. And all the views around that propel us into actions that only cause us. And if left unchecked, others around us more and more suffer. And so it's like we're digging our own samsara. So what do? So it's difficult to have that realization. One of the things is gathering the positive conditions, which we call merit, favorable conditions, accumulating what we call merit, developing the positive states of mind, engaging in virtuous actions, beneficial actions, for the benefit of others, not harming them and helping them where we can, and then purifying those other layer by layer by layer of negative states of mind. Ultimately, we want to purify this inherent self-grasping ignorance. But along the way, we can look at more manifest things like anger, fear, jealousy, pride, or whatever, and say, I can work on that. That one I can work on, right? And so we don't have to go each one, but it gives us confidence that I'm moving forward. I'm gaining more understanding. Where is the anger in the anger? And again, we can investigate that on the basis of the body, the basis of the mind, etc., etc. So all those meditations that we have around that, investigating all of that, and the purification practices like the sattva practice, like the prostration practice. I go like that because Tashi's leading us here on Tuesday evenings. I don't know if he's still going for another week or what before break. So that's one very significant approach. In fact, Lama Yeshe said our whole purpose in life is to accumulate merit and purify negativity. Making use of all the conditions that we have in this very life doesn't get more perfect than this. I'm not saying life is perfect, I'm saying the conditions. In fact, we had to have imperfect conditions. If it was all perfect, we'd be cruising. What do you mean expensive, Tim? I'm in a state of bliss, I have endless wealth. Spare time, energy, all of those things, yeah. And then also like developing the mind of calm abiding, of what we say placement meditation, focused meditation, placing our attention. And this counteracts a mind that gets distracted here and there, which is a very dispersed, therefore weak mind. We think about calm abiding, that we're gathering all the energy in to focus on one thing. Often it's the breath, could be a Buddha image, same time accumulating merit. Some of us will be doing that extensively in January. We're having a retreat on refuge retreat, visualizations of the Buddha, recitations. That'll be announced very soon as well. So that's very exciting. So developing that focused mind, because once we have a laser-like concentration, we can then unify that with analytical meditation, the power of analytical meditation. Sort of skipping ahead, But we need to cultivate both of those states of mind, the analytical, like we just did, going through that meditation. And then when we have a moment of, oh, that's it. There's no barrier between this space and that space. We place our mind there and abide there. While that experience is there, that deepens into our mental continuum. And then when it starts to weaken, we go on with our minds. So we toggle backwards and forwards until such point as these two minds are one mind. So these are approaches to take, along with going about our lives. Looking at helpful ways we can transform our mind, let go of this grasping. Not actually mine. For myself next door, there's a lot of things, most of the things in the house are not mine. So that's easy to say not mine, because literally they're not mine. Right? But then it's what about the things I own? What are the things of mine? And what about the things, what am I prepared to do? I'm not saying go and lose it, but what am I prepared to do? In other words, how attached is my mind to this, to that, to the other thing, to a teenager's behaviour? I think it's in the nature of teenagers not to, isn't it? It's sort of asserting their independence, whatever. So we listen to our own stories at the centre of our reaction, our emotions. What makes me so proud? Was it pride before the fall? How long is that going to last? Better nip it in the bud right now. So we can investigate the emotions, all the emotions that flow through our body. Investigate it. If you're having a family Christmas, investigate your mind. I think there's a lot of opportunities there. I have been told, for myself, I always have a wonderful family Christmas. Feel very good. And if I don't have the family Christmas, I have an even more wonderful silent Christmas. Yeah. So just look when emotions arise. Just first, we can look at it different ways, isn't it? We can look at what precipitated that, what just happened, what is happening, what's going on here, what's going on with me, what is it, what's going on with me, why am I afraid, what am I afraid of? It hasn't happened. Yes, it might happen. When it happens, I'll deal with it, but it's not here now. Why do I want to live in fear when I could be living a very powerful, courageous life? So we investigate all sorts of things, to enhance our awareness of our habits, but start to diminish their grip on us, their hold on us, sort of chip away at them. But also we can, turn that around and look at that from, we say, apply antidotes, like the antidote to anger, is either patience or love. Both. And also looking at this me, who has nothing to do with everything that's going on, looking at the causes and conditions for that influence my own behaviour. But without knowing, we can also think about, well, the same is for other people, not just reacting in the moment to whatever's happening in that moment, but they're also a product and continuing changing, ever-flowing entity of orders and conditions as well as us.
Right, let's ask on that. So, seems like, for me anyway, that I can remove certain levels of the eye.
Yes.
Still seems like there's a subtler level.
Yes.
And how far you go back.
Correct.
I heard the analogy that, like in a dream, you know, you think that you're there at the time, you think there's a me in the dream.
Yeah.
And obviously, when you wake up, you realise that wasn't really me.
Yeah.
It wasn't really, that
Yeah.
eye was not the real eye. But there's still something watching it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So you
Yes.
get back to that
Our
subtle
dream
level.
body, our dream persona,
Yeah,
entity.
so then you wake up and you go, well, something was watching. So it's kind of like, you know, you can take back certain levels, but it still seems like that there's something, you know what I mean? At the
Correct.
end of all that, it was
Correct.
watching.
So that's the perfect approach to analyze. And one of the other sides of that is to see everything as illusion, a mere play. Right? It's so serious that it's everything. Be light. Yeah. Realize that everything is a continuous flow. So yes, there's one, see your dreams as dreams, but also then we can say, see everything as a dream. And you're correct. It seems like, oh, but there's something at another level, It's very good. Very good. So even at the level of, say, like Lama Zopa Rinpoche, we have this meditation of saying, you know, you'd be sitting here meditating. You say, okay, meditate. Then look at who is this I who's meditating? And then who's observing? And who's observing? You know, so same thing, looking at different layers and different levels of that really self-grasping. So it's a wonderful approach.
And also, when you go back like that, everything becomes less and less and less personal.
Yes, because this I is not offended or seeking praise or seeking. I mean, in the meantime, yes, all those things are happening. But when we get to the point of saying, it's okay. It is. I'll be offended on top. Because this poor pity me feels like I have the right not to be criticized, not to be judged, and so forth. Me out of all the world. Because let's face it, I can tell you what they're doing wrong. Isn't it? So, yeah, holding things lightly, noticing the space, particularly when we're investigating the space between the thoughts. Settling our awareness in that spaciousness, out of which thoughts come. But the thoughts themselves come from the space of the mind. They're in the nature of space. They're not concrete. And we follow the thought as if it's reality. And so we create things out of that just like you're saying, this us, that this thing that was never there, never came into existence, like never was there except our mind imputing it. So look at how we impute things. Look at how as soon as we learn, say you meet someone for the first time, so you have a physical impression of them, and maybe if they speak, then you've got a verbal impression or sound impression. And then they've got a name. And once you learn the name, just watch how your perception changes. Maybe not right there as you're being introduced to it, but you're going to be standing going, watching your mind, and it's just like, excuse me, hello. But just observe things like that. How the labeling itself and the label we put on something changes that whole relationship. Right, there's a story about when Christopher Columbus went, what's the one down the bottom of Cape of Good Hope, Cape of South America. Oh, wrong one. South America. Anyway, bottom there. And they anchored the ship and went to shore. They must have had a translator as well. They had a conversation. I always debate that, but who was translating? Like, who knew the language? Oh, maybe they thought of that in advance. Anyway, and the same to these people, people are going, where did you come from? From that ship. What ship? That ship. What ship? So they take them out on the ship. So now they've got something suitable to be labelled ship. So now they can experience ship. But what? It's not that they didn't see something blob out there in the ocean. They weren't blind. It was just ship was not a concept. So we're doing this all the time, isn't it? Now ship was a concept. Now they've experienced ship and going, okay, that thing. It's like when kids put things in their babies, put things in their mouth to know it, to experience it. Spit it out or swallow it, chew it or whatever. But yes. Yeah, that is. Yeah. Yeah.
Subject or object or whatever that they
Yes.
So one is taken away and the others don't exist. How do they exist?
They exist.
There's no reality. They only exist independent upon each other.
Correct. Well, there's no independent existence. There is a reality. They exist. But this is
the experience.
the how. Yeah, our experience. We determine everything. Yes. Yes. That does.
Separation is created through the designation and the creation
Correct.
of the subject object.
Yes.
That trinity.
Yeah. So we want to. See, as soon as he says Trinity, I go back to my childhood and the whole community. Totally wrong. Yeah.
I just think of it as phrase.
No, yeah, exactly. We all respond accordingly. You can see how we put different labels on different things, but it's true. And this is what the realization of the emptiness, when you see things as non-dual, right? So there's no this and that, no me and you, nothing. It's not nothingness, but it is non-separation, non-duality. That's what we're wanting to get to the experience of. And then everything's a state of flow.
Yes, the goal of thinking this way is to get to that state of that correct. But the goal of negating the I and meditating this way is to get to is one way of getting to the direct perception of emptiness.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Until we can have that direct perceptual realization, we use all these different tools, analysis and so forth, to get a sense of that experience. And this sort of space-like mind is sort of like the closest analogy in terms of our experience. And space being not a void, but space being a potential, an openness, a lightness, yeah.
There's another question that I have in regards to
Okay.
this, and it's around karma.
Yeah.
Obviously, with dependent arising, karma is central and is very kind of logical.
Well, karma is a dependent arising.
Yeah.
It's all dependent arising.
But the dependent designation is clear karma.
The label. Is that what you're saying? Just clarify. The actual
There is-
designation is
there
free
is
of karma.
There is no, they're not relying on
They're not reliant on a label. It's a natural law of cause and
it's a
effect.
spontaneous, it's a co-emergent arising.
Very good. Co-emergent. Yes, it's a
Yes,
co-emergent.
yes.
Right.
So, free of karma.
Free.
I know.
But it's what we do with that next.
Oh.
That's the four karmic one.
What is that? What is that? 64.
One finger snap. That's a lot. We just try and get our head around one and karmic cause and effect. But there's a lot going on simultaneously. But I get what you point. Yeah. 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 So this is like by continuing to analyze, investigate, we get closer to understanding. Because closer to an understanding is not that it has to be like this. It's like that.
Even what I just said,
Yes.
is in a way trying to make concrete or something.
Well, that's why we use concepts that is non-conceptual, and we're trying to explain it with concepts. But until we can get to the non-conceptual, we need those concepts because that's what we rely on. We rely on and applying those in a logical reasoning, because then we can see the faults in our reasoning.
But at this point, when the co-emergence, the idea of letting go,
Is gone. It's not there. I know. We all look forward to it. Co-emergence. Still a conventional truth. Anything that emerges.
that was actually the
Phase.
question I had as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Reality, you said earlier.
Yes, yes. No, it's not saying emptiness is like a dream, but if we investigate it in the way that we let go as you wake up of the dream, that's the seeing it as a dream, that you know it's just a dream. You let it go when you wake up. Okay. Well, thank you for all that. Wonderful discussion. We will dedicate now. Page 8, first two verses. Kewadi no jodai lama sange nrogyone roba chikyam mahalokan ne sala Go pasho jancho centro riposhe ma ke panange kuchi ke kanyam bawe payam go ne gundu kawashi. Page 9. Prayer to long life of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Incomparably kind and supreme Tenzin Gyatso, the wish granting, wish fulfilling joy, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world. May you have a long life and all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. And the prayer for the swift return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche, peerless teacher and assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Shravakas and practical Buddhas, victorious Losang father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite light. Please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now, holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teaching. Through explanation and practice, you wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable Venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and from other living beings, you suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss! Nevertheless, through their undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the three doors and the great ways of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious one, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly be in glory for fortunate disciples. Long life prayer for tenderness of Ricochet. Lord of Dharma, who in accordance with the various dispositions of those to be subdued, makes clear in the light of your well-spoken advice the sacred Ganden tradition essence of Buddha's teachings. Foremost and holy Lama, to you, our Supreme, we make this prayer a supplication. Lama, please, please live long. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful end of year and even better new year ahead with all we've got planned here. Also to announce at the beginning of February, we have Geshe Sharam visiting, doing some teachings here, first week in February, and then teachings also at Tara Meditation Center in the second week of February. So it's a nice way to, we've got a few exciting things kicking off the new year. Very wonderful. Stay safe, stay well, be happy. Watch your mind. And turn this on.